Patrick, you're up next. Hello.
Yeah, this hand comes from Derby Lane, St. Petersburg, Florida, just
Okay.
outside of Tampa.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's 1-3, 1500 cap, and we're playing nine-handed.
So wow, 1-3, 1500 cap. Nice.
Yeah,
Deep
it's
game.
a good game.
Yeah.
The biggest winners are pretty tight and aggressive, and just really skin the fish all day long. There's a lot of loose players there.
Yeah.
All right. So in this hand, there's a middle position straddle to six. There's two calls. It gets to me in the small blind, and I have the ace of clubs and king of hearts, and I make it 45.
So small blind. You're in the small blind with Ace of Hearts, King of Clubs.
Ace of clubs, king of hearts.
Ace of Clubs, King of Hearts. So you say middle position straddle. So does that mean like it goes in order? Like it's kind of like a sleeper or sort
You
of
could,
Mississippi?
yeah, it still goes in order just from
Limp, limp. Okay.
MP plus one
All right.
starts, and it just goes around as normal.
So a couple late position limps. You have
Yep.
Ace King off, and you go to 45. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yep. So the big blind makes the call, then the cutoff and the button also make the call. We get one of the limpers to fold.
Cut
I'm
off.
sorry, the straddle folds.
All right. So straddle. So cutoff and button
Yep.
call. So you're four ways here.
Yep.
Yep.
So $180 in the pot
Okay.
after a rake.
Yep.
So the flop is ace of hearts, five of hearts, two of diamonds.
Ace of Hearts, Five of Hearts, Two of Diamonds. Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I bet 125. The big blind calls, and the cutoff calls all in for $80. So there's about 440 in a main pot with me and the big blind, and there's I'm sorry, there's 440 in the main pot, and then a side pot of about $90 with me and the big blind.
Okay. So side pot of about $90. Thank you for that math. Let me just talk about your sizing here because you're actually going against multi-way, the theory of sort of a multi-way pot. But I actually like it here in this particular case because I'm gonna assume that these games that are like 1-3 super deep kind of play like Texas games, which I'm very accustomed to. Played a lot of this level too, and I think that ace high boards are a little bit special for getting value because of the fact that you will see so many people in there with dominated aces. As opposed to if it was like King Five Deuce. I think it's actually slightly different. So I just want to try to get the most amount of value a lot of times as possible because usually you're not going to see a whole lot of like 2/3 like into three people like theory wise multi-way. But with that being said, like I said, I actually like it, and the reason why is because the reason why you're not supposed to go so large is because somehow if like big blind here had like ace seven of clubs, okay, something like that, he's supposed to be doing some folding with two guys to his left when you fire 2/3 into four ways in this setup, in this configuration. That never happens at this level. You see what I'm saying? So
Oh
you
yeah,
just want to max out on getting value from ace X.
yeah, for sure. People are just never folding aces in this spot, so tried to size up a bit on the flop. Don't really. I mean, if he has a set, all the money's going to go in by the river most likely, and he's just going to win. So
By the way,
I'm fine with the
you
setup.
said that there was a cap, but how deep are you? I'm sorry, effective.
So we started the hand about 1300
Okay.
effective with the main bail and the big
All right,
blind.
so 1300 effective. Thank you. Okay, so 440 in the main, 90 in the side, and then the guy to your left called next to act, and then you've got this guy in the cutoff moving all in behind you. Okay.
Yep. So turn card is the five of clubs, pairing the middle card. And I bet 175 here, trying to, again, just get value from a lot of dominated aces. I think if I size up a ton here, I think I can get some folds from this guy. But again, going back to what you said on the flop, I think I should be sizing up more than this here, probably going like 275 because people they call too much in these games for sure.
Hmm.
So I make it 175, and then the big blind raises to 450.
Well, these ones are always interesting when you're dealing with side pots and stuff like that. Now, obviously, you're building on the side, right? I mean, you're betting 175 into when in essence is 530 total, 440 in the main, 90 on the side. So it's not like crazy, crazy large. But you definitely have to be aware of the fact that the bluffing frequency should go down when the pot is somewhat protected. Now, you can get into like really weird situations though, if, and I'm not going to give a guy like at 1-3 necessarily credit for this, but there are some advanced types of plays that you can make in these spots where, and I've seen it before from some good players. It's not all that common, right? Because somebody has to be all in, right? But there are certain situations where you can put pressure on someone that you think that you're losing to. And this would be like you, like if this guy thinks he's losing to you, but he thinks he has a very good chance of beating the other guy. You know what I'm saying? And you will sometimes, you can actually sometimes do that too, where it's a weird one. I remember going over it in one of my hands that I covered from Hustler in the CLP video this past week. Sometimes with a nut flush draw or like nut draw, like an ace high draw, you sometimes want to pull a play where you're trying to get the preflop raiser or the guy with the lead out of the hand when somebody else is all in. If you think there's a fair chance that the other guy might have like a draw that's worse than you, I mean, that makes a lot of, you're taking a lot of exception. You're making a lot of assumptions in that particular case where you're trying to drive out the better hand and you think you might be able to win without showdown. Just kind of like a little bit of food for thought. But I will say that these spots are pretty under bluffed. But at the same time, when I'm looking at this texture, it's like, well, I mean, I guess he could be wide enough to have a 5 here. I don't know if I'm just going to open fold right now to the raise. It's kind of small. And you can go back to sort of crush side poker, a little bit of Fifth Street chicken, where the raise is really not that big. It's not out of the ordinary where you see somebody in position play kind of like a little bit of a stop raise. It's not common where it might just go check, check at the end. And sometimes people are trying to like control pot size, through that. What I do find a little bit odd is a lot of guys that want to slow play this flop won't raise the turn now with the boat. They'll call again. So when you're taking a look at it, like, well, if he's got deuce deuce or God forbid, like quad 5, he's going to be doing a lot of calling again, or ace 5, he's going to look at it and he's like, oh my God, I've got, the stone cold nuts. Some guys will raise sort of knowingly, but I don't think I'm going to release right now.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Like he's not just raising full houses here in position against me, building a side pot. So I
Now
do make
let's
the
do some
call.
math here though too, because we got to look at pot size, right? You started with 1,300, so if you make the call, the total pot size is going to be what, 1430, right? Because we're adding 530 and 900, and you've put in like 600, so you only have like 700 left, right?
Yeah, that's
So you
correct.
only have about a half pot size bet left. Now I still think that's probably enough to call and check evaluate, but once you start to get shallower than that, it does become like kind of like a jammer fold spot, because if they're, and maybe not on this particular board, on ace of hearts, 5 of hearts, deuce of diamonds, 5 of clubs, but on some boards where you have a guy maybe raising a draw and then he's not going to bluff at the end, you're sort of giving him a reverse free card. It sounds to me like you called.
Yeah, I do make the call,
Okay.
and we go to a 3 of hearts river.
So it is 9, 1430, and the river is the 3 of hearts, so it puts a one-liner out there. So again, it is ace of hearts, 5 of hearts, deuce of diamonds, 5 of clubs, and now the river is the 3 of hearts, which completes the front door and puts a one-liner out there. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's definitely a board changing card for sure.
Okay.
So I took about 3 seconds, checked,
Right.
big blind snap jams for 700.
I mean, Jesus, dude. Like, what do you beat here? What do you beat here? You don't even, I mean, obviously, probably a 5 isn't just betting now, like aimlessly, although you only have a half pot size bet left. But my God, like, this would be like one hell of a bluff. I mean, he did build the side pot, right? Like on the turn, there's 990 on the side. But remember, he still has to beat the other guy in the main. But the side pot now is big enough where you could easily make a case where there should be some bluffing frequency. But
Yeah. Yeah. So the one thing that changes this a little bit is cutoff. The player who's in the main pot like is visibly excited when this 3 of hearts rolls off.
well, I mean, some people are saying like this is a very sort of suspect kind of card to jam on, with the exception of the fact if he has like five deuce, ace five, and he did raise the turn, right? Deuce deuce. I mean, all those I don't, all those hands are going to jam, right? They're boats, right? And yeah, so and then also too, what if he was raising the turn on the come with hearts? I mean, you only have half pot size bet left, so I kind of disagree a little bit with some of the people cut because of the stack sizes. It's in someone saying it. I mean, 4-5. He raised the turn with like 4-5 trips and then run into a straight. I'm not sure about that, but I don't know. I don't know how I find this call here. I mean, why do you think? Do you think that this is a close situation?
So I think the villain, he had bought in for 500 twice already and lost it, and then he's like visibly frustrated. He pulls out all the rest of his money, which is right around 1,000, maybe 5 hands before this, and he won one of them to get him up to 1,300. That and then the cutoff just visibly being excited when this three of hearts rolls off.
Which what makes you think that it's less likely that this guy has a flush?
Definitely take some of the flushes out, possibly. That's what I was thinking in game. And I think it's I talked to a couple friends and they're like, you're lighting money on fire, not doing anything but folding here.
I mean that seems to. I mean that's kind of my impression here too.
Yeah,
and you kind of add into the fact that it is there is a guy all in the main, and I will keep stressing that he has built obviously somewhat of a substantial side pot, right? I mean there is 990 on the side here, but it's just like what hand. I'm trying to invent a hand here where I can say like what raises turn. So you can't beat a five. And I know some of these hands don't bet at the end, but you can't beat a five. You can't beat a boat. You can't beat hearts. You can't beat a straight. So what's raising here on the turn? Because remember too, on the turn, right? On the turn, like the pot's not that big on the side. It's only 265. He still does have to beat the other guy in the main pot when he raises the turn, right? So like what kind of bluff is that? What does that look like in terms of a bluff range? You know what I mean?
To be honest, I think some of the players in this player pool just will try to apply pressure when they think they can get you off a hand. Like their cards don't matter. They're just going to try to get you off this hand.
Yeah, but isn't he recognizing the fact that there's a guy all in though? I mean, it would be one thing if there wasn't a guy behind him that's all in and he was just putting pressure on you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's another added wrinkle to this that makes me want to fold.
It's really hard to understand what level people are thinking about the game at in these games because it varies so much. The games are quite good.
So what ended up happening? Did you find like some sort of crazy hero call?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at him for a couple seconds. He was a statue. I did make the call. He says you're good, and he shows 7 of hearts, 7 of diamonds.
Wow, that is bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, when we get these sort of weird calls, I can only give you, like I said, my advice of what I would do given my almost 20 years experience of live poker. A lot of those variables I wouldn't probably think twice about folding here at the end because of those variables. That is one that is a super outlier. I appreciate that you called it in, but I do tend to think that I agree with your friends in that this might be burning money here over the long run.
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty interesting hand. This is the furthest I've ever gone off of just like playing relatively straight up standard poker in these games. It was just kind of the combination of the guy being tilted, the other player getting excited when the 3 of hearts comes out, and she ended up showing the cutoff shows ace 4 for a rivered straight.
So that's what she was scared. She was excited because she thought the straight came in and then was going to win with ace 4.
Yeah. So that's the furthest like out to left field, relatively large hand I think I've played in a couple of years playing in this room.
Yeah, man, it would take me. I'd have to have a special villain to be able to make that call. But I appreciate you calling it in. Thank you very much.